All right. Hello. Welcome to Artificially Intelligent, the show where two old friends, one of them an African-American musician. Let's see. Let's enter full screen. There we go. That should be better. One of them, Barrett Antar Goodwin, a musician in Philadelphia. The other, a cracker-ass honky comedian in the Midwest. And I'm Nathan Timmel. So there you go. That's the two of us. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right, man. What's going on in your world?
What's going on in my world? We haven't spoken in a couple days. Would you like to turn tonight's vodcast into a therapy session for me?
Oh boy. Sure. All right, let's do that.
Yeah, let's spring some shit on you.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in.
Uh-huh.
The wife and I had a very long talk on, I believe it was Saturday night. So we are, it's as we record it is Monday. So it's been 2 days, and she is very worried. She is deathly afraid. I mean, she was very emotional. She actively hates my industry. She actively hates it for many of the things you and I have talked about that I just sort of put on my shoulders and deal with, and like, all right, this is the life I chose. Quick backstory to anybody happens to not know anything, because why would they know? My wife has a master's degree in marketing. That is what she does. Her job is to market and to use corporate speak. She creates strategies, implements strategies, and then examines return on investment and tweaks strategies and markets. And she hates my industry because, as she told me, nothing makes sense and nothing works. She doesn't see it getting any better. She's like, and I'm not sure how to phrase this because now I'm getting into my own head, my own words. Like you and I have talked about, I go to a club, I do exceedingly well. People tell me like, holy crap, that was just fantastic. And then when I contact the club to go back, they're like, huh, who are you? Have you been on TV? And I'm like, God damn it. I mean, are you kidding me? And so there are two ways of looking at this. One is that I'm treading water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not advancing. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm treading water. I've put out 6 albums. One made it into the top 20 on the iTunes comedy chart. Didn't make a difference. No one cares. The other way to look at it is, and this is like Stuart Smalley positive thinking. Treading water is at least survival. You know, I've not gone under, but
Mm-hmm.
she's worried for the future and isn't sure she likes the idea of me doing comedy as my job anymore, because she just hates the fact that nothing works, that down is up and up is down. Talent doesn't matter. Originality doesn't matter. Luck is what matters. Connections are what matter. And the reason I pointed out is she's a marketing manager is she took over my marketing when, we met. She's like, ooh, I'll implement strategies and revised my press kit and did my website, and she updates it and makes sure that everything is, this is what gets attention. This is what works, except not in the world of art. And the final thing I'll say before letting you digest and maybe throw some things back at me are, she, and I think I've talked to you about this before, she was really excited when I wrote my book, the one that we promote at the end of every show, because her words, not mine. She said, I've always liked your writing. I always thought the nonfiction books you've put out were fine. I supported them. It's like this book was really good. She said, I could not put this book down. Like, this is a step above. And I had always self-published my other books published. And she said, we cannot self-publish this book. This book is too good. It deserves to be read. She was adamant. And so I said, all right, well, find an agent then. I didn't want to be mean or rude or negate anything she wanted to do. But in the back of my head, I sort of said, I'm like, it's not as easy as being good and then getting signed. And she discovered, like, she had witnessed through me what the rejection process is like. And putting something she really believed out there, my book, to the world and trying to get someone else interested in it, the indifference she met was shocking to her. The fact that people were more interested in, you might have something good, but hey, this person, I know through a second cousin twice removed, their book sucks, but I know them, so I'm going to sign it. And so to bring it back to home, she really, really hates the fact that my world doesn't make any sense, that it's not linear, that you don't put in hard work and succeed and effort and move up. You put in all the effort in the world and you can still fail. And it goes in a sense to what you and I finished with last night or last week. Is it me? It might just be me. I have no idea. I go to places and there's a club in Ohio that I'm friendly with, and the owner's Lebanese, and he's like, Timmel, Nathan, I like you very much. You're a very nice guy. You're a very nice guy. Do other clubs like you? You're a very good person. You're a nice guy, and you're funny and original. You're a nice guy. And I'm like, yeah, clubs that like me, and clubs that won't pay attention to me don't care. So it's been an interesting couple of days, and I don't know how to digest it, because I can't disagree with her. I can't say, no, sweetie, success is right around the corner, because I've believed in everything I've done. Oh, I've done an album. Maybe this will kick the door open. All right, well, I wrote this first book. All right, I wrote the second book. All right, I wrote this third book. All right, I wrote my first work of fiction. All right, I'm putting up my 7th album. Like, at what point is success not right around the corner? Right. I don't know. It's scary. It's sobering. And it was really not fun. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean it was like, it sucked. I mean, it hurts to see the person you love so raw and emotional, and because I can't assuage that fear. I can't say, no, everything will be all right. Like, I couldn't offer her words of comfort, because this is what I live with every single day. The idea that,
Right. I guess let me ask you a couple questions. When she does marketing, what does she do it for?
She does it for a university. She tries to convince people to come spend money and get a degree from a university, as opposed to other places. Come to our university as opposed to other universities.
See, I think it's just a different world, because she's marketing to people who clearly already want to go to college. It's just now which one do they want to go to, right? Like, I think if she had to only choose between people who wanted to go see comedy at night, and then she had to kind of market towards people who were already there, and she had the demographic and all the stuff, she could probably be a bit more successful. You know what I mean? I think the problem is that marketing to the world at large and trying to convince them to pay attention to you when they're not at all looking for you, right? Like, trying to convince someone who's looking to go to college that they should use your college is a difficult task, right? But I think it's easier than convincing someone who has no thoughts about going to college and never really gave it a second thought, and maybe they like it, but they're undecided. Trying to convince them is a different gig. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different kind of gig.
I do, but I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe you're going to somewhere where I'm not sensing, but it seemed like you went down a different path. What about, to me, the one-to-one comparison is, hey, I'm a comic club owner. I want the best product for my stage. Oh, look at this. This packet is sharp. This guy. Whereas, it's just like, oh, look at this. I'm just going to put it in a stack of others.
That's just like, not. I feel like, see, I'm torn on it, because I don't know the comedy world. I know the music world, And I used to get into an argument with a band leader who would say, it's not our job to bring people. It's our job to keep people here. It's not our job to bring people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, well, sure. If you want to keep making, $125 a gig, then yeah, that's our job, to keep people there, because they'll pay us. They'll pay a band $500 over the course of 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, to keep people there. They'll pay $125 a person, give you free beer and chicken fingers to keep people there. Sure, that's worth it for them. But when you can put people there, they'll pay you real money. You know what I mean?
Like absolutely.
When you make the club money, they'll have you back, even if you suck, as you well know.
And that's where I was going to go with this
Because
is I think my job is to both try and bring people in. So I do try and promote myself. But I think equally, if not more important, is to send those people home happy. So they want to return, not just to see me, but to go to the comedy club. I had a good experience at the club, whereas the comedy world, as I think we've discussed, can be, not is, I mean, there's a wide variety, but can be someone that had the best 6 minutes ever on television and then gets on stage for an hour and the people leave like, well, fuck, he was on TV and he sucked, and they don't want to go back to the club and they don't want to go back to see that. You know, I've the story's as old as time where the person got in over their head, but they were, you know,
yes.
TV famous.
Yeah, I think it's a real problem. It's like when people back in the day go, well, I've got a record deal, that means I'm good, therefore you should. And it's like, yeah, plenty of bands with managers and promoters and slick marketing agents got lots of gigs, and then they disappeared because they couldn't back it up. I mean, again, I think that this industry is difficult, and I think that it always takes a sense of resilience. Truthfully, I think it takes like I had a thought this morning in the wee hours of the morning. I was thinking about how much stuff I care about, you know, and if I had to do it all over again, like you remember years ago, I was thinking, oh, like you and I had toyed around with the idea of me moving to Milwaukee, and I was putting a band together.
Yeah.
And I had toyed around with like a few years later. Like I think when my grandfather was sick, I went out to Ohio and I was like, oh my God, you can rent a storefront here with a 2-bedroom apartment above it for $800
for less than you pay for an apartment in New Jersey.
Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like that's insane. I should move out here and put together a band and really just go for it. You know what I mean? Because and I haven't changed. You know what I mean? Like I haven't changed. Like people keep saying, you know, yeah, you should do something different if this isn't working and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, maybe that's true, right? Maybe there's some truth to that. Like, listen, if this shit just isn't working and you're beating a dead horse, then fuck it, go do something else. First question is, what the fuck else are you going to do? Really, what the fuck are you going to do? The hell's your degree worth 20 years after the fact?
Yeah.
Or no, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is it worth? You know what I mean? Like, literally. Like,
well, what would my resume be? All right. I worked in Los Angeles here, and then it's sort of a blank void. Exactly, I talked about my penis on stage.
Right. Like, you'll have to go back to school for at least 2 years. Right? Full time for 2 years. Right? To be able to do something that actually makes a legitimate difference in your life. Do you know what I mean? Like if you just want to go get a job at the bar bartending, I mean, listen, you make real money. Bartenders make adult money. You know what I mean? So you could go be a bartender. You know how to mix a drink. And you're a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like you go do that. But like realistically, like what the fuck are you gonna do? Like to me, and I don't say this to be funny, but maybe your time is just better spent figuring out how to play the game better than getting out of the game.
Well, I don't disagree with you. In fact, I do agree with you. And that is the second, I don't want to say point of contention, but I have a little money saved up, and you and I have talked about this, I think off air, so we can spring it on anybody that's watching, the idea of invest in yourself. And maybe we talked about it on here, I don't remember, but the idea of, okay, I'm working on new material. I'm always working on new material. And when the local club opens, because the owner, it's a long story, but he's trying to, COVID sideline things, investing in a professional videographer. And because I always put these clips on YouTube of my camera in the back of the room, and I know it doesn't look great, and I know it doesn't sound great. I'm not saying that I suck, but I put it up. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. You get the gist of the joke. But what if I invest in a professional looking show? And I expressed that to my wife, and she sort of went, she balked. She got really scared because she's already worried about money, and she looked at it as throwing good money after bad. And I'm like, I disagree because
I don't want to argue with your wife because she's your wife. You know what I mean?
And plus, I already did that. I mean, we didn't fight. There was no fight. It was just, it was a discussion, and it was just really.
listen, a man's not going to win an argument with his own wife, let alone somebody else's. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So,
COVID.
yeah, indeed. But here's the thing. There's just so much, you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing, and I don't mean this to sound like in a disparaging way. You can't take advice from people who don't live in this world
But it's
because
not taking. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. It is difficult though when it is the person who you live under the same roof with and
yes,
are tied to and all. But
but
continue. I apologize. I shouldn't have interrupted.
but it doesn't mean that they're right. It just means that you have to find a way to smooth it out. Do you know what I mean? Because here's the thing. Here's the reality of it. The reality is that whatever it is, you've accelerated through the ranks of comedy up to a point and you've hit what people commonly refer to as a glass ceiling, right? You can see what's above you, but you just can't get over it, right? Now the problem is because you don't know what you don't know what the buy-in is. You just don't know. Because you don't know. You find it accidentally. That's how you figure it out most of the time is you just acquire the tools through moving forward and it just you meet the buy-in without knowing it, and so your career just moves forward. But if you haven't met the buy-in yet and you're standing there and then you look around and what you see that other people have that you don't have is a manager, an agent, a professional looking video, or this or that. It's like you you fill in the gaps you can, right? Like you can't make somebody want to be your manager. You can't
I
make
tried that.
somebody
Yeah, there we
right,
have a
right,
spreadsheet full of just non-responses. Like, okay, I contacted him this day, that like I have a
right.
spreadsheet of
Yeah.
because that was one thing that upset my wife is a handful of years ago she said, okay, what haven't we done yet? Let's just get a list of managers and just contact them, give them the pitch. And I'm like, I will do it. Let's do it. And the responses were crickets. So yeah, you were
But I
absolutely,
mean,
you can't make someone want to manage you.
right. You can't make someone want to
I
manage you.
think,
You can't
isn't the
make them
joke manager arrives when you don't need them?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's what it is. But what you can do is you can make a professional video for I mean, when she's talking about throwing good money after bad, it's not we're not talking about like
It's under
20,
2000. It could be
20 or
15.
thirty thousand
Yeah.
dollars, right? We're talking
We're
about
talking
like
Midwest money, not
right,
like
you like
rent
you
a
might
theater and wet the stage down and a backdrop. No, we're talking
right, like
a wedding videographer.
but I mean, really, like realistically, all you need is two cameras, one stationary, and then one, yeah. And then I'd say then three. Yeah, three would
Yeah.
be better. Like two stationary, one moving, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But like, fuck, dude, like, you get that for $1,000, $1,500, and you can rent out a comedy club. Do you know what I mean? Like you can go to the place and just spend a little bit of money and say,
Oh, I
hey,
know. I know my local guy. Once he gets, I know he'll do it for me. I'll
yeah,
just say, hey, I want to do
yeah,
a 2-person show. You give me a host for 15 minutes and let me just go.
yeah.
Like let me.
Yeah, and you want 2 nights in a row, and you want to be able to like stack the joint with all your friends. Do you know what I mean?
That doesn't
Okay,
always work the best with
okay,
comedy. Does
but
it work in with music? With comedy, I've seen it happen over and over where they're just sitting like, we want him to do really well. I know him. Like my wife brings a table of friends, so there's usually 10 people in the audience, but they always sit far enough back. It's
yeah, they
with
can
comedy,
talk.
you generally want strangers because people know you too well. If and when they know
Yeah,
your stories or who you are, like
yeah,
when my wife brings our neighbors and our friends, they all have a good time. I see them laughing, but you don't want a room full of your friends and family. You
yeah.
definitely don't.
Well, I mean, whatever it is, you want to fill the room with people.
Yeah.
Fucking, pay college kids in beer to show up. It doesn't matter. Like you pay $200 to have an open bar. Like I don't know whatever. I don't know what an open bar costs in the Midwest, but you know what I mean. Like whatever you need to do, put bodies in that place, film it, get a bunch of applause. Get the fucking soundtrack from Kiss Alive 2 and take the applause
Put the
breaks
applause.
and
Yeah.
put them in. I'm like, fuck, dude. I mean, like, this is a marketing.
Here's
This
what's,
is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a bad use of your money.
you know, what's
I
fucked
really
up about
don't.
what you just said is I said I was going to do that on my last album. I said, fuck it. I'm going to Kiss Alive this. I'm going to steal laughter. And when I was done, I didn't need to. Like,
Right.
I got so much laughter and applause. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just putting this out as is. I
Yeah.
fully went into the album saying, this is going to be the one. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to make it do whatever. And then I sat back and I'm like, oh, I actually don't need to cheat. But yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm not saying, but yeah, that's so it's not delusional. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go bomb and then can't, because I saw that. Oh, God, it's a friend of mine that I will not name. He had a special on Showtime, and there were a couple really bad edits where he would tell a joke, and I can't believe no one said, is that what we want to do? Because he would tell a joke several times. He told a joke, and there'd be this big laughter and applause, and the camera would cut to the audience that was just sitting there politely. And it's like, they're not
Mhm.
laughing or applauding. Like, you could, and it sounded
Yeah.
off. It sounded like the mix was off, where it's
Yeah.
like you're stealing the Kiss Alive arena applause and putting it in this comedy club with 75 people. Yeah, it was really weird watching that. But as far as getting college kids in and whatever, I had a buddy of mine tweet today. Um, it was just an interesting tweet. He said it was a tweet of a screenshot of a tweet of his. He had like one of those memories that pop up, like it said 8 years ago this. He goes, wow, 8 years ago, I was trying to give tickets away to see Tom Segura. And look at who he is today. He's just the big,
Yeah.
like, and the tweet was, hey, who wants to go see Tom Segura tonight? We're trying to fill the house. And today he's playing theaters.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, this is something, I mean, again, you know, this is something Katie and I end up spending a lot of time talking about because there's in order to become attractive to bigger bands, we have to be able to put a certain amount of people in a room, right?
mm-hmm.
Like if we can put 250 people in a room and they can put 500 people in a room, then theoretically we can play a place that holds 800 to 1,000.
Yeah.
Then maybe to combined, we can bump up those numbers. But if not, at least we've got 750 to 800 people inside of a place that holds 1,000 people. Do you know what I mean?
If you remember the best book ever written, the Dirt by Motley Crue, they
Mm-hmm.
even talk
Oh,
about
yes.
when Whitesnake was hitting with the heat of the thrill of the night, whatever. And the heat of the night was a TV. Either way, the Tawny Katane videos, they threw Whitesnake on because they're like, all right, they will put a couple thousand seats in there that might not like Motley Crue, but Whitesnake is all over MTV right now. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Right.
always
I mean, right. Like it's like it's a weird game where you're spending your time working on being as authentic as you can be, and then also trying to gain the favor and attention of the higher ups. It's like being in, back in the court with the courtiers and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like all the Machiavellian stuff. Like, how do you curry favor with the king and with these nobles and these nobles to get them to pay attention to you and give you shit you need? Sorry, I don't know why I'm so today. I've been vaccinated and everything.
it's still COVID. What shot did you get?
I got the good one, whatever one that is.
Pfizer. Did you have a reaction?
Yeah, I was a little tired. Second shot, I was a little tired. Like for a day or so.
There's another thread on Facebook, friends of mine. They're like, oh, did this second shot do this to you? And like almost everybody I know, I would say 90% of the people I know, if not more, had an adverse reaction. And so they felt like a truck hit them or had the shakes or got fever. And I'm just walking around like, yep, nothing. I'm fine. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little tired. That's about it. Sluggish for a day. Didn't really do much other than that. And that could just be the weed.
Legal in Pennsylvania?
No. Well, it's decriminalized.
Okay. It's legal 45 minutes from me in Illinois.
Yeah. So, right. You just,
I don't, but I could.
Right. That's a trip to the grocery store for you guys. you know. But um,
I
I
got
feel
edibles
like
last time I was in Colorado. They said, take a half of one. So I ate two and it didn't do anything to me. And I was angry. I'm like, okay, last time I was told to eat half of one. I ate three and nothing happened. So I should have taken all four at once, but it didn't do a goddamn thing to me. I was so upset. I just wanted to feel,
you're
the only
funny.
thing that's ever really made me feel good was Vicodin.
Yes, you're like house.
Yeah. I literally, I remember I'd gotten a hold of four of them and I took two and just sat and felt warm. Just like, oh, this is nice. And so then I waited a few months or a year and then took the other two.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I've got a bottle of Oxy if you want it.
Yeah, I absolutely do want it. I 100% want it. I haven't
Illegal is
treated
that
myself to
feeling?
pills and I can't tell you how long.
Oh yeah, when I was in the hospital, I they gave me a bottle of them. I was like, you can keep them. Really, I'm not gonna take them. They're like,
You know my address.
yeah, yeah. I was like, I can't. I said these things are too addictive. Like, it's just that's a real gateway drug. I don't think weed's a gateway drug to anything. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, I mean, I'm sure it is, but like, it's a mental gateway drug. You know what I mean? Like,
I think
Oxy is
everything
like
is
a
a game. Like when
legitimate
I,
one. You know what I mean?
well, it depends on what you take it for. I've never taken pain pills for anything other than fun. And when I say that,
Hmm.
I'm talking under 10 times in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I remember when I'm laying on the couch feeling all tingly and warm, I'm like, I get this. I get why people like this. But I
Yeah.
think there's a difference between like, all right, I'm going to take two pills every 3 years versus, okay, I'm taking
Yeah.
them for back pain and now I'm addicted. So that's
Right.
what I think is the, so
Yes.
that's why I'm not afraid of them is
Yeah.
I have the willpower to shove them in a cupboard and not touch them.
I mean, I think that's really the problem. It's like when you actually need them,
Yeah.
and then you get addicted to them,
Yeah.
and then afterwards, then you're on them, and then it's like, well, then you're on the street, and then it's heroin. Did I ever tell you when I heard an operation years and years ago, and I was standing outside, and it's like this is before all this
Was
post-racial
this your hernia?
America. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this was before this whole post-racial America thing that we live in now, where racism doesn't exist, right?
No, racism exists everywhere now. Everything
Right.
is
I
racist
know
now.
exactly
I think
every
it was
single thing.
before it was racism is real, but it's not as bad as we think. And now it's
Right.
racism is the worst thing ever because it's in every single interaction.
Right.
Would you like
Exactly.
to supersize your fries? Racist.
Right. Exactly. Well, this like kind of, you know, middle-aged soccer mom comes up to me and says, I'm walking out of the pain management place where they, it wasn't even a pain management place. It was like the surgeon he was a surgeon and he had an office and he worked on me in a hospital, but I went to do my post-op visits at his office.
Okay.
And the woman walks up to me after. She goes, sorry, I was trying to dip my pills and do my makeup at the same time, and I dropped them, and they all went down the sink. And I'm just so sorry. I'd love to buy yours off you. I mean, I can give you a fair price, like $20 a pill or something. Like what do you have? And I was thinking, God, if I didn't need these, I'd make a fortune off you,
Yeah.
lady. And I said,
But
well, I said I only have the 5 milligram one. She goes, oh, well, that's not going to do much for me. I mean, will you sell them? And I was just like, right, like, like, you know, she was just like, she's trying to run game on me. But I was like, in a world in which, again, not to harp on the race thing, but like this middle-aged soccer mom walks up to a black dude with dreadlocks and tries to run a sob story on me. You know what I mean? And I was like, how funny. Because in most other situations, I would get the impression she'd be afraid of me. And here, the drugs have got her to a
the
point. Now,
need, the
right,
need superseded the fear.
right. And all of a sudden, right, and I'm obviously a perfectly reasonable, rational human being. So maybe through her drug addiction, she'll find out that people are reasonable. You know
Or
what I
maybe
mean?
she didn't have inherent racism. Maybe we just
Right,
assume that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a thought that I have.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we can talk about that whole thing too, but
Now you
I,
reminded me of my favorite story. I was leaving a
mhm.
gym when I lived in Los Angeles. It was north of my. It doesn't matter. I'm walk out of the gym. I start walking across the parking lot to my car, which was a decent distance away. And this guy hits me up immediately, and I don't remember his whole spiel, but it was basically, this was big for a while, was the hey, my car just ran out of gas, I just need a couple bucks to get a couple gallons in to get home. Do you remember that spiel? That was big for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I already told the story backwards. He came up. He said, "Hey man, can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Absolutely." He goes, "My car just ran out of gas. I just need a couple gallons to get home. You know, I'm just trying to scrounge up a couple bucks for a gallon of gas just so I can get home." And I went, "That's not a question." And I kept walking. I didn't even break stride. I'm just like, "That's not a question." And then he's like, "Can I have $1?" I'm like, "No." But it was, I just remember that he was so stunned the way I said, "That's not a question," not what he expected. He did not expect that response. He's just like, "Fuck," called me out.
That's funny. Yeah.
My wife bought this over 2 months ago. She was traveling and she bought it at an airport and it's been sitting in the refrigerator. I'm like, God damn it. I'm just going to drink that because I hate bottled water. We have refillable, and I just acknowledge that I'm not a wasteful American. I'm not just a plastic bottle. I'm just trying to get done because it's been in our refrigerator.
Indeed. And then you can refill it a couple times if you want. You know,
we have refillable bottles. That's what we use. We have RO water here, but
well, to get back to our original topic.
Artificially intelligent tangents. We did it.
I know, right?
Mike did not like that as a title, by the way. He likes it as a segue in the middle, but as an overall title, he said no.
Well, I think
we are beholden to Mike for the record.
Indeed.
And he wants to come back on.
Who isn't? I think that'd be great to have him back on. That'd be really fun.
It was a good conversation.
I feel like I don't think you've exhausted all of your options. I think that because I think that there's two things, like you said something, and it's something that we've talked about before, right? Like if you know that networking is a serious thing, right? And it goes against that kind of happy, glad hands thing, goes against who you are as a person, you know? There is a way in which you can still be authentic and be you and still hang out after the gig and have a glass of wine with the people. And like, you know, maybe you have a cranberry juice and seltzer, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like you just hang out with people and be funny and have a good time and make friends with other comedians. So they want you to go on the road with them because they like you as a person.
I did that last time I was in college. I said, "Oh, we do an open mic at this place after the show." And I'm like, "All right, I'll just go hang out there." And I did. Like, I'm just trying to put myself out there.
Yeah, I think it just has to be like, it's hard to have these stories without talking about people, because I'm going through something right now with someone that is not the same situation, but it's going to sound very much like it. I'm having to put together video for a couple of shows. We have some shows coming up and I'm trying to put together some video to make the video advertisements and all the stuff, right?
How'd your show Saturday go, by the way?
Oh, it was really fun.
I believe it.
I'll tell you all about it in a second, actually. It was life-changing, actually, in certain ways, psychologically. But whenever I have to put these videos together, we have to work with another band. It's always really nice when they have all their stuff together. Oh, cool. Yeah, here's some video. Oh, yeah, I can email you that right now. Hold on. I'll send it from my phone. And here's this. And here's some photos. Here's some clips. Here's some this, here's some that. A lot of times what I get from older people is go to my website and get it. And they'll have YouTube links. And I'm like, well, now I've got to figure out how to rip the YouTube link off your video. And then I've got to edit it down. Like, you don't do this for yourself.
I make sure I do it for me.
Like you don't have all these tools already up and ready and you're touring. Like these people.
If someone wants to work with me, I am all about like, oh, you need stuff from me? Here it is. I don't want to make things any more difficult, because then you get a reputation of, well, if I call him, then I have to do all the work because, so I hear you.
Right. Like, that's what it feels like. It's like, oh, right. Like, I don't know that I like chopping up videos, syncing sound, you know, organizing all the stuff, figuring out what's got to go where. It takes a minute For like,
Hmm.
I'm not a video person, so it takes me a while to do this stuff. It's just like, oh, right, like there's better ways to do this. Like there's ways that people who just have the tools, even if the bands are equally as good. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have the tools, then I don't know how to do the job. You know what I mean? And if I'm looking at you and you don't have a professional looking video, like you don't have a video that doesn't look like it was shot with a phone or just
Right.
a solid camera, that's a statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I'm
it doesn't right, like like I never understood it until like we accidentally stumbled upon a couple of the tools that we needed, and then people were interested, and then certain people just told us, oh yeah, we weren't interested until you did fill in the blank. It's like, oh well, how do we known that? We just would have done this sooner.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we didn't fucking know that was the buy-in, but once you find out, but you don't find out until after you have it. Then somebody tells you, oh, we liked you because of. You're like, ah, that's what the buy-in is. And then the one guy says, well, to get the booking agent you want, you'll have to do this and this. It's like, oh, that's the buy-in. So you just suck up and deal. You just take the hit. You know what I mean? Like you take the lump and you move forward. To me, you spending under $2,000 on a video is that is really solid and looks really good and all that shit. I don't know, man. That's a pretty small price to pay.
I agree.
You know what I mean? For the opportunity, having clips of that on your website looks really good. Being able to chop that up into 10 or 15, 30-second things and a bunch of other 2-minute things and a
And that's
couple
what
of
I don't have
5-minute
also is
things, right?
I
Like
don't
that
have
shit
TikTok,
matters.
which because I look and that's everything's
Yeah.
under a minute. And I'm like, all right, so
Yeah.
if I can make a flashy under a minute, yep.
Yeah, that shit matters. You know what I mean? I look at like a handful of the comedians that have really taken off during the pandemic. They all did it with short 30-second and 1-minute clips that then baited people enough to then be able to sit through a 5-minute clip, you know? And it's like, right, like that's kind of the move, right? Like Todd and I were talking about this the other day about like, I don't want to say all you have to do because that just sounds ridiculous. But like from a marketing standpoint,
Yeah.
one of the major things you can do is follow people, companies, people, artists, whoever that have a marketing team. Like they're not doing it by themselves, right? Like you go to Coke, you follow Coca-Cola or Lamborghini or Yves Saint Laurent, I don't care, like whatever it is, Calvin Klein, some shit, that they pay $1 million a year for someone to do their marketing for them. And then you go look at how frequently they post, the kind of stuff they post. And you're like, oh, I could do that. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
go to the big comics and go, what the fuck are they posting? And you can do that. Because all they're doing is posting, here's me sitting in my car being funny, here's me doing this, here's a clip of a concert I did or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like you could follow their exact plan. You could post when they post, how often they post, and the same kind of content. Like, because then that they're paying somebody thousands of dollars to figure this shit out for them, and you could do the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You pay an image consultant, $100 to just find out, $150 to just find out what colors work best for you,
No,
right?
that one
Like,
I can't trust my wife on. She is very adamant on what I wear on stage sometimes.
but I mean,
She will, that
you
shirt
know,
looks good.
right, and that's what you want, right? You
Yeah.
want to be able to take someone's opinion to help you do the stuff that you don't necessarily know how to do. And I feel like as artists, we're made to feel like some kind of weird shame because we're not all recording producers and engineers and don't fucking art marketing experts and web designers and videographers. It's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, sometimes you got to farm that shit out, and that's just what it is. Or you just got to figure out how to do it yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm learning how to edit video because we can't afford a videographer, so I just got to figure it the fuck out.
I'm pretty
You
good
know
with
what I
video.
mean?
If you want to send me shit, I'm actually not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what it brought. But you've had to learn that out of necessity.
Yeah,
You
I've
know what I
been doing
mean?
it
Like
since
you learn it out of
2003 or 4 when I
yeah,
started putting my own little short films
yeah,
together. And I don't have a lot of them, but the ones they actually are the ones that get several thousand hits on YouTube. They're
yeah,
kind of funny. Or I mean, you've seen the stupid shit I've been putting out for the
yeah,
book. I mean, that's
yeah.
dumb and funny, and I can do that. And
But
you know,
but it works,
mm,
right? Like that shit is much more effective. That's what I mean. Like, right, like that stuff is probably more effective than a handful of other things. You know what I mean? But
I'm just saying, if you want to say, I can help you. That was all.
I will definitely do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wonder.
Why she went away, and I wonder.
I was just thinking that actually, oddly enough, I just wasn't gonna say it. Um, but like, see, I wonder like when you have the tools that you need and you have the consistency that you need and you have all the stuff, you know what I mean? Then if nothing happens, then figure it out. But like to me, like, uh-oh, losing my light.
Hmm.
I was talking to
Nothing really
Katie
changed.
today. Oh no, it's nice actually. I've got this lighting thing figured out a little bit more these days.
It's awesome.
But I was talking to Katie and I was like, well, like we're talking about the show, and I was
The
like,
Saturday
well,
show.
yeah, and I'd recorded it. We had a new drummer who killed it, crushed it, sounded great,
Awesome.
sounded fantastic. Um, but one of the things we're talking about is like what we could do differently. You know what I mean? Like I was like, well, we got a lot of fire, a lot of passion, a lot of energy, and we really go for it. You know what I mean? So that sells things, right? Because people buy the energy sometimes, right? But we were sloppy around some endings were sloppy, and sometimes there's a little bit too long between songs and shit like that. And it's like, right, but that's all stuff we could do something about.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like we can do something about that. Like, we can just work that shit out. So we have a couple rehearsals booked. We're gonna work that shit out so it won't be an issue because like there's like tiny technical things that might stand in our way. Do you know what I mean? Like just tiny technical things that we're not doing right, that when you watch the big kids, they do it right. Do you know what I mean? Like you ever like go to a concert and it's like it's cheesy at this point, but there's a moment where the singer's just playing the acoustic guitar while they're telling the story. You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And the lights get dim.
Oh, the
And it's like fuck
Springsteen is
man.
going back on Broadway, and
Right.
Springsteen on Broadway, that Netflix special. And I don't
Yeah.
there's this is an odd thing to say because it's sort of, but I mean, I don't even know why I'm saying. I have nothing for or against Springsteen. If his song comes on the radio, sometimes I'll listen to it like, yeah, Glory Days, that's a catchy tune. But I've never bought one of his albums, and I don't have anything against him. But Springsteen on like, I was enraptured. It was so
Yeah.
good. And there are
Absolutely.
times where he's just playing like two notes and talking, but it's just like that
Yeah.
subtlety. And then he'll play a song that goes with his story. Fucking
Yeah.
just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I'm like, here's a guy that I
Yeah.
have really never paid any attention to. And it's just the fucking greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean,
But I do have another quick thought.
mm-hmm.
There are some things you can do and there's some things you can't, but you have to find a way to end around them. That's what I'm hearing
Absolutely.
from you, because my first thought was Edge plays a different guitar on every song at a U2 concert. Like every guitar is but he has Dallas, his guitar tech, that the instant a song ends, he walks up, hands him a new one, and it just busts into it. Whereas you don't have 20 guitars and a guitar tech, but Katie probably
Right.
has two, right? Where she can have one tuned
Yeah.
for the next song and
Yeah.
then just whip it off. And, you might have to
Yeah.
hit the mic and talk while she's tuning, but yeah,
Yeah.
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 But you don't have anyone
There's
that'll just hand you a tuned guitar and
no, we that oh man, so many little edges we need smoothed out that would be smoothed out with people,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
like with just extra people. But one of the things that I realize is that like a lot of the stuff that you end up having to do, it borders on corny. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff that I see work in music is stuff that like if you're genuine and you do it, it comes off really well. But if you're faking it and you do it, it comes off really badly unless you're a really good actor, right?
I hate to
And
keep bringing it back to the same band, but you too, on their Zoo TV tour, they
mhm,
sang I Can't Help Falling in Love with You at the end of every show. And
right.
Bono talked about in an interview how even when he was Fat Elvis in Vegas at the end of his career, if he believed that moment, like when he would wipe his fat, pork sweat brow and then give the kerchief to a woman in the audience, he said if he did that right, it didn't matter that he was Fat Elvis sweating out pills and alcohol. If
Mhm,
she believed it, there was a connection. And he's like, that's what I'm looking for, is that connection. It doesn't matter how cheesy it
yeah,
is. This guy
yeah.
leaning over like tap, 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 here you go, baby. It works. It doesn't matter how cheesy it is. If you can believe it, it works. So I know
Yeah,
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. But I think that many of us are afraid of that
Yeah.
because it's the same thing. This is that judgmental voice in our head that goes, "Oh, look at this asshole. Who do they think they are?" Do you know
Or
what I
I
mean?
want to be
Right,
original. I don't want to do something I've seen done.
right, exactly. But here's my thing, right? If you study all of the best comics, right? You just made a study of it for like 6 weeks. You just took notes at how they time things, how they structured their set, how they did this, how they did that, when they went into this, when they did that little boomerang joke where they tied it back to a joke in the beginning. And what you'd find if you study them over the past 50 years is that there's a commonality there,
They all
right?
have Jewish managers.
Exactly. Exactly. And they all just got canceled right now. But
No,
you
I
know,
just did for that crack.
right.
I should
But
have said
you,
Jewish lawyers. Oh, I'm digging a deeper
but
grave. I
but
can't help myself.
but you know what I mean? Like when I study, like my first MD gig, I had to like I was
Musical
looking at the
director for people that don't know.
yeah, I was not doctor gig, right? Right. I studied, it was like a popish gig. So I found some Madonna tour because it was kind of like that kind of theatrical thing. And then I studied a Prince tour because I was kind of theatrical at the time. Like they were going after that kind of 80s theatrical thing. So that's what I was looking at. And I was like, oh, that's funny. There's so many commonalities between the Madonna show and the Prince show. And then, I'm looking at Brandy Carlisle shows now and Tedeschi Truck shows and all these other shows. And I'm like, yeah, there's all these commonalities at all of the shows. Doesn't matter what the style of music is, doesn't fucking matter. If it's commercially viable, it's generally done in a way, like there's a
Yeah, there's a
format to it.
pattern.
There's something, and it's just like you focus on the shit that works, and the shit that works is the shit that works, and everybody does it, and they do it because it fucking works. You know what I mean? It's like there's a reason for it, right? There's a reason why people go, all right, good night, and then they go, what? The audience goes one more, two, and then they come out and do two more songs. You know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah.
well, you guys talked us into it with all your applause. It's like, like it's just part of the mating ritual between audience members and performers. It's like there's a ritual. We play the part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in a way that's artificial, but I feel like in studying that, what I find is that good singer, good song, good band. That's what you need. And not even that. What you need is great. A great singer, a great song, and a great band. That's what you need, right? Like you need all three, right? Because two out of the three will get you somewhere, but three out of the three will really get you somewhere.
And it's funny because I hear in my head um, bands that I thought were great that never made it anywhere. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I also like I remember being in my 20s and there was a band I thought was just fantastic. It was called Royal Crescent Mob. And I
Mm-hmm.
discovered them when they opened up for Living Color.
Mm-hmm.
And generally the opening band, you've never heard of them and you're just there for the main band and you're ignoring, and they blew everyone away. And they're like, we got our first major album coming out. They were out of Cincinnati. And then I saw them the next year headlining their own tour in really small clubs with nobody at them. Like nobody came to
Mhm.
these small clubs. It was sad. And I used to just go, what the fuck? How come these guys don't make it? And then I got a little distance and I looked at them and I'm like, how did I not see this before? Like, this song is great, but the video is just horrible. And this album is great, but the cover could not be more absurdly bad. And I mean, just
Mhm.
these little things like, did no one tell them this album cover is not a good representation of you? Did no one say
Right.
this video is not going to work? I mean,
Right.
so you can be great and fail,
Right.
but as I have
Absolutely.
taken on my own shoulders in the past with what I did wrong in LA, it can be your fault. You can
I mean,
blame the world outside all you want, but a lot of what we do rests on us.
here's the thing. Even if it's not your fault, it's still your responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like it's just how it is, right? Like, you know, it's a touchy thing, right? Because it's like one of those weird things when you talk about the race thing, right? It's like, well, right, I didn't do these things to myself. But it doesn't mean that it's not my job to deal with the whatever the psychology is. Whoever did it to me is not necessarily going to come back and apologize and make amends for it. I have to find a way to deal with it on my own and
Or
find
even,
a way to move forward. You know what
or
I
even if
mean?
not that, going back to the pill lady, the soccer mom, the knee
Yeah.
jerk. Why is she talking to me? I'm a black man. She's probably racist, but her drug addiction is overcoming that. Maybe she's just not racism. Like that,
I
like we
mean,
said, that first
right,
thought of
right.
it's us,
I mean,
us and them, or them, or us
right.
versus them.
The problem is like, I have plenty of things like that where I can go, well, I don't know whether that was racism or not. You know what
Right.
I mean? And like you said, like with a little bit of distance, I can go, yeah, that person could just be a person of a different ethnicity than me who's just an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or maybe I was an asshole and I just didn't see it. And that they were reacting to me, not the other way around. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. There's a thousand things like that. There are things that I know are racist because the words that came out are like, oh, this qualifies even as racism for white people. Do you know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah. Yeah.
qualifies
Yeah. Yeah.
even as racism for white folks. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay, this qualifies. And at the end of the day, while it may be important for me to understand and deal with whatever the psychological effects of these things were as a child, you know what I mean? Like, dealing with them is still my responsibility, even if it's not my fault. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day,
Well, and that's, yeah,
that's
that's how we started. It's,
just what it all comes down to. And I feel like the same thing is true in all these things, right? Like, at the end of the day, I feel like I don't want to say that if I'll say this in my own career, generally, when it's not going the way I want it to, it's something that I'm not doing. That's what it is. It's not the industry. I know that, like, everybody, like,
it can be both.
it can be, but
It
I
can be
know,
both.
but it can be both. But what I've found is that, and maybe it's different in music, or maybe I'm just naive, right? Which is either one of those things is possible, right? Or both, really. But what I find is that most of the time when people tell me that something is a bad idea and they don't live in the world that I live in, and then I listen to them, I'm sorry that I did.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? When I've listened to people who don't live in this world tell me what they do in their world, it's like, yeah, but your world is a real step by step. Like, as long as
Your
you
world
show
makes
up,
sense.
well, right. Like, if you show up for 40 hours a week and you avoid your boss, you know what I mean? You don't do the middle, you don't do the least amount of work possible just to be average. You do just enough to stand out above your other mediocre coworkers. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to say like it's that easy because it's not that easy, but it's been years since I worked in like corporate America type stuff. But anytime I've been in that stuff or even gone back to visit or talk to my friends who work in that world, what they say is, yeah, my job's pretty secure as long as I don't fuck up or do anything crazy. And I'll just keep getting a promotion every couple of years, or they give me a raise as long as I stay this far above whatever minimums I need to hit. And everything, it's just very linear, right? It's a very linear process. And like, you get out of school and there's a whole network of people who are designed, not in every job, obviously, but in many jobs, there's just, it's designed like, if you, like, this sounds like,
Well, here, let me interrupt you. You catch your
yeah,
thought, but where Lydia works, it's not just, you said you get out of school and there's a whole network, and that sparked the thought I'm going to have. Um, they have that. The school where they do placement programs where they go out
right,
and
yeah,
find companies and say, "Hey, we got this graduate we think is a really good match for you." It's like that's part of the pitch is come to our school and we will network you,
yeah, we'll
as
get
like the
you a
school
job.
becomes your manager.
Right. Yeah. Like, and that's a, and like, if you work in a music world that is not an institutionalized music world, right? Like, if you play in jazz band or classical band, orchestra stuff in high school, and you do all the competitions and you take classical lessons and you do the competitions and you win enough of them or place enough of them, you'll do fine. Like, there's a
Mhm.
system set up for you to follow through it. If you do jazz band and you're in a school that can compete, and then this is that, and then you get this award, and you get this award, and you're pretty much guaranteed a reasonable scholarship to a reasonable school. And you know what I mean? People, like, it's just, it's a funnel, it's a program, right?
What happened to our buddy,
Which buddy is this?
Mr. Laboriel Jr.?
Oh, right.
I
Well,
mean, he also
I
had
mean,
connections, but
and he was also like a monster. Like,
yeah,
he was
he
a
was really good.
monster as
But
a child. Like, he could play his
yeah,
ass off, and you know.
but that's
But I
what got
mean,
him. So he was a monster, but then he got, someone said, "Oh, look at you. Let's put you," and it was his dad, but
yeah,
let's put you on
right,
this course to where you
right,
go. And then
yeah, and
to
it's
anybody that
perfect.
doesn't know who we're talking about, just see who was playing drums for Seal in the 90s and who's been playing drums for Paul McCartney ever since. We
Yeah,
went to college with that guy. He was on our dormitory floor. Was he on the fourth floor? Yeah, he was. He was on the other side.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like people like that. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you end up dealing with that kind of stuff, and you see these things, you're like, right, like, there's a system in place here. There isn't, there is a system in place in music and in comedy and things like that. There is a system, but it's like everybody keeps it a secret. Like, you know what I mean? You know what the buy-in to get into college is? Get a good SAT score. You know exactly what it is. Get a good SAT score,
Or have money.
or have some money, right? Like, that's what it is. But if you want a scholarship, you know what you need to do. You know exactly what you need to do. You
Yeah.
probably need to be good at a sport. You need to do a certain amount of community service. Your grades need to be at a certain level, and you need to be a relatively interesting person. Or you need to excel at one thing so well that you're fucking unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? And you'll get a scholarship. Like, that doesn't make it easy, but at least you know what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, if somebody said to you, "Well, Nathan, when you have 10,000 followers on Instagram, we'll book you." Like, okay, now I know what the goal is. Hit 10,000. Here's the thing: I can guarantee you that when you get to 10,000, something will happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, something will change. Do you know what I mean?
I
Having
said, yeah, and I
10,000.
realized I'd muted myself because something
Ah,
kicked on back there, and that's why I was looking around.
said I. But
If
you
you
know what I
can't hear it,
mean?
that's good.
Like, I feel like there are certain numbers that we know we need to hit. That's why I think the video for you is a good idea, because it will help you hit numbers. The numbers are not magical, but they are indicative of something, and they are the kind of thing that make a stranger willing to take a chance. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't
Oh,
have
you
the
mean
you
I was
know,
convinced before we came in, but this
yeah,
has been a fantastic therapy session because
yeah.
I don't know if you've filled my head with delusions, but you've made me feel a lot better.
Well, I mean, listen, if you know, who knows? Like, at the end of the day, it's a roll of the dice, right?
Oh, I
Like,
could still spend the money and nothing can happen, but
right.
it's
But
better in my mind to not look back in 5 years and go coulda, shoulda.
yeah, like,
You know?
dude, I mean, I won't say you because you're you, right? But like, most people waste $2,000 a year on nothing,
Yeah.
on
I worked
fucking,
with
you know,
someone once that said I set $75 a weekend aside for going out and partying and drinking, and that's it. I'm like, that's 150, that's 300. Like that's seems a bit much for drinking. That was their booze budget.
right. Yeah, I mean, that's $3,600 a year,
You
which
could have
is what I mean.
math.
But
Well,
that's what I mean. Like that. That's that's their video right there.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean, right? Like, if you like, it seems foolish to not have the tools if it's not cost prohibitive. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Then it seems like I would do it. You know what I mean? So
Well, let's go out on a positive note. That was Saturday
yes.
night. And then Sunday, I was on Facebook, and someone random that I know
Mhm.
that were acquaintances, but I didn't, just posted a picture like, "Hey, I bought your book. I can't wait to read it." And it started this little thread of people saying that they owned the book too.
Hmm.
And it was just a really warm moment, and it made me feel really good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, not the purchasing, like just the support, not the like, oh, they bought my book. That's 20 cents in my pocket.
Right.
It just felt nice. And we talked about him earlier. Mr. Dalton, Mike, has been nothing but supportive. He messages me on the side all the time, and his last message to me was, "Anything I can do to help." So
Yeah.
it's absolutely wonderful to have people support you. It feels good.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone. And Mike,
I
special shout
mean,
out to you. Thank you. I think I sent him a heart in the message, but dead on. Thank you. So,
the book is really good, man. It
well,
really
let's
is.
promote it, and let's promote you, and let's get out of here. The book is
Yeah.
called We Are 100. And I don't think I say this really. I just sort of play it off, but I'm proud of it. I am. I will go to say go. I don't. I usually try and downplay my accomplishments, but I was really happy when I wrote the book, because I said I think this is good, and I've thought
Yeah.
that about everything I do because I'm an egomaniac. No, but I'm like, I think this has mass appeal, and I don't know that anything else I had done before had that.
Yeah.
And the feedback I'm getting has been that, yeah, people seem to like it. So it's available on Amazon. Go there, check out reviews. It's called We Are 100. And you can go to nathantimmel.com, and it's the first thing there. You see this link that says go buy the book. So there you go.
Yeah.
Promoting you, Mr. Antar. The Katie Henry band just recorded a second album,
Uh,
and I got an advance copy and found it fucking fantastic. The songs
yeah.
just, I mean, I I just said I was an egomaniac. This is how big an egomaniac I am, and it's amazing that I have such low self esteem and I'm an egomaniac at the same time. I was
Isn't that
sending Barrett.
amazing?
What's that?
Isn't that amazing sometimes?
It's insane. But here's
It
how
really
big
is.
an ego I have. I liked the album so much that I sent Barrett an email like, oh, this needs to be the first single right here. No, this one. Wait, now I'm torn between these two, because I'm dictating what I think the first single should be, because
Yeah.
I found several that just like, this should be on the radio. And
Yeah.
it's not me blowing smoke up anyone's ass. They're
Nah,
really good fucking songs.
it's
I enjoy the album immensely, and I
I
really
mean,
can't wait to hear which single you pick, because if it's not one that I told you to, I'm going to be angry. So,
right, of course. But
and then I
well,
did send you, and I will name drop here, because oh, she breaks my heart so often. She hurts me right here. Liz Fair has a new album coming out, and I sent you her latest video. I'm like, don't do this. The song aside, whatever you think of the song, don't make a video this cheesy and bad. There was nothing good about it. And I love Liz Fair so much, or at least I did. And don't make a video like that. Whatever single you do not make a video that bad, please.
okay.
Did you watch it?
I watched about 10 seconds of it and then something happened. Someone called in and I
It
haven't seen the rest
doesn't
of
get
it.
any
But
better. That
okay.
10 seconds is
All
the
right.
entire video. It's just
Yeah.
bad. So, katiehenrymusic.com, go there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got upcoming dates
Ooh,
and going to
we're
be
playing
adding
this
more now.
Saturday.
What's that?
We're playing this Saturday, June 12th at Bernie's Hillside Tavern from 7 to 10.
Good, good, good.
I'll
Well,
send you I'll send you the promo thing that we're not going to use, but I want to, but nobody else does. I'll
oh, I
send
want
it
to
to
see it.
you. I think it's hilarious.
Well, if you
Yeah.
are anywhere in the New Jersey, Philadelphia, where is Bernie's?
Chester, New Jersey.
Chester, New Jersey. But just go to Katie Henry Music. You can check
Yeah,
out the
it's all up
first
there.
album, High Road, on Spotify. I got 4
Absolutely.
albums on Spotify. You can look me up there.
Yes,
But Katie
absolutely.
Henry Music will have all the tour dates. And if you go to nathantimmel.com, I have to make sure. I think you can sign up for my mailing list to get my tour dates.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have that on there where you could sign up for my mailing list, and then you'd get a email once a month. I don't know if that's still on the website. Either way, good talking to you, my
Yeah,
friend.
you too, man. As always.
All right, let's
Yeah.
hit stop recording, and then the mechanical voice will tell us, like, this recording has stopped.
Yes.
No more sneaky recordings on Zoom, anyone. We're being
Oh, no.
monitored. All right.
Seriously.